This is the Black Oystercatcher, a bold sentinel of Oregon's rocky shores. In this video, you'll meet 26 must-see birds that thrive where Pacific waves crash against cliffs and spray meets the forested headlands. You'll also be introduced to a dark-eyed coastal neighbor that isn't a bird at all, often surfacing quietly in protected waters. Few birds capture the drama of Oregon's coastline like the Black Oystercatcher. With its jet black body, vivid orange bill, and pink legs, it looks unreal against gray rock and white surf. This shorebird lives right in the intertidal zone, working barnacle-encrusted ledges and jetties where waves pound hardest. Its heavy, chisel-shaped bill pries open mussels and limpets that cling stubbornly to the rocks. Pairs stay on the same shoreline year after year, nesting just above high tide. For coastal birders, spotting this striking bird on tide-washed reefs is a must-see moment that instantly says you're truly on the wild Pacific shore. No other bird so perfectly matches Oregon's tide pools and rocky intertidal. The Black Oystercatcher and Oregon coast belong together. Crowning Oregon's rocky coast, the bald eagle soars above cliffs and offshore stacks, its white head and tail gleaming against the deep blue Pacific. They perch on wind-bent snags, driftwood logs, and high conifers, patiently scanning for fish, gulls, and carrion along the surfline, sometimes displacing gulls and crows with sheer size and authority. Nesting pairs claim prominent bluffs or tall shoreline trees, building massive stick nests that grow larger each year. Their sharp, whistling calls carry across coves. Juveniles, mottled brown and white, take several years to attain the classic clean-headed adult plumage. From headland trails and beach viewpoints, watching a bald eagle wheel over the waves or snatch prey from the surf captures the full sense of wild majesty that still defines Oregon's untamed coast. Few birds are as instantly lovable or as emblematic as the Tufted Puffin. With its flamboyant yellow head plumes and blazing orange bill, it looks almost tropical against the storm-gray sea. Yet this seabird thrives in cold water, digging burrows into grassy slopes on offshore islands like Haystack Rock or Three Arch Rocks. Adults spend most of the year far at sea, returning in spring to raise one chick, each parent flying long distances to deliver schooling fish gripped crosswise in that oversized beak. Their wing beats are rapid, their dives deep, and their lives perfectly tuned to Oregon's cold ocean waters. For birders, even a brief glimpse through binoculars of puffins bright against the basalt cliffs feels like catching a spark of joy lighting up the Pacific. Oregon's coastline unfolds as dramatic stone, wind, and tide. Towering basalt cliffs plunge into the Pacific, rocky shelves cradling tide pools teeming with starfish, urchins, and anemones. Offshore sea stacks rise where gulls, murres, and cormorants crowd ledges. Windswept bluffs hold shore pine and huckleberry thickets, fading to moss-dripping forest inland. Jetties and breakwalls draw scoters, sandpipers, and gulls feeding beside anglers. These algae-slick structures now host mini ecosystems, bridging ocean and land. Waves and seabird cries set the rhythm in this living borderland where each tide renews the coastal stage. The red crossbill seems like a bird of the high mountains, but listen near coastal hemlock groves or spruce forests and you may catch its sharp jip-jip calls echoing overhead. Periodic cone crops draw these nomadic finches to the ocean's edge, where Sitka spruce cling to moist headlands. Their odd crossed bills pry open stiff cones that others can't manage, turning seed into song. Males glow deep red, females olive green, both flashing color against fog and silver bark. Flocks whirl between treetops above roaring surf, living proof of how forests and oceans intertwine. Like wandering sparks, they appear suddenly, then vanish for years, until cone crops beckon again. Spotting a red crossbill among whispering coastal pines feels like seeing a mountain bird caught in sea mist, a fleeting reward for those who watch closely. Even amid crashing surf, the white-crowned sparrows sings a calm, clear whistle from tangled coastal shrubs. These handsome sparrows, with black and white crowns and soft gray breasts, fill Oregon's dunes and bluffs with gentle music. They favor beach lupin, salmonberry, and patches of blackberry where they forage for seeds and insects, often right beside trails or parking pullouts. Adaptable yet graceful, they nest close to the ground in tufts of beach grass or under wild rose. During migration, waves of them sweep along the coast, resting and feeding before continuing north. For birdwatchers, their song carries a reassuring note of familiarity among the wilder sounds of the sea, the melody of resilience humming through Oregon's changing shoreline. To pause beside a bluff and hear that tune through the roar of the wind is to feel how life endures in every pocket of shelter along the coast. The common murre fills the sea cliffs in dense colonies each summer, shoulder to shoulder like penguins on narrow ledges. Dressed in black and white, these seabirds dive deep for fish, sometimes swimming hundreds of feet down. From shore, their raucous cries sound like a bustling crowd. When tens of thousands fill the air, it's one of the coast's great wildlife spectacles, proof of how the Pacific still teems with life at the boundary of land and sea. They paddle close to shore in spring, then scatter far offshore after chicks fledge. Pairs return faithfully to the same cliff scars year after year. For headland birders, scanning murre-covered stacks reveals the raw power of seabird cities thriving against the ocean's endless assault. Oregon's coast lives by the rhythm of wind and tide. Winter brings pounding storms, roaring surf, and cloudbursts that send seabirds for shelter. Spring softens the weather with calm mornings and bursts of wildflowers on the cliffs. Summer is often cloaked in fog, rolling in like a living tide beneath bright blue skies above. Autumn clears the air again, bringing migrating ducks, gulls, and shorebirds to rest on calmer seas. For birders, every season offers new movement and mood. No two visits ever feel the same. The varied thrush opens with a single haunting whistle that floats through coastal forest fog like a ghost note from the deep woods. This striking bird haunts the damp spruce and hemlock groves above Oregon's rocky headlands, its orange breast and slate blue wings glowing against mossy trunks. Males perch high on conifer branches, delivering that pure, spaced-out melody to claim misty territories. They hop through leaf litter and ferns for insects, slugs, and berries, rarely venturing near the crashing surf below. In spring, their ethereal song cuts through rain-drenched silence, a reminder that lush rainforest clings to the bluffs just inland from the Pacific's roar. Shy but unforgettable, varied thrushes bridge the wild divide between ocean spray and towering trees. For headland birders, hearing that whistle while scanning shadowed understory feels like the forest itself revealing its secrets, one perfect note at a time. The large Glaucous-winged Gull is the signature sentinel of the Oregon shoreline, broad-winged, confident, and loud. It stands guard on docks, cliffs, and piers, feeding on everything from sea urchins to dropped French fries. Often overlooked, it's truly a master of adaptation, raising chicks on narrow ledges against the wind. Watching these gulls wheel through sea mist over roaring beach is to witness the permanent presence of the coast's most familiar guardian. They scavenge kelp windrows and probe tide pools with equal skill. Pairs defend bluff-top nests fiercely through summer. For coastal visitors, glaucous-winged gulls tie together the human and wild worlds of Oregon's rocky shores. Surf scoters bring cartoonish flair to Oregon's winter waves, with males sporting bulbous orange and white bills that glow like neon against solid black plumage. These diving ducks raft just beyond the breakers, submersing in unison to wrestle clams and mussels from sandy bottoms. Watch them surface with a shake water streaming off broad wings as they toss shells to crack open. Females, chocolate brown with subtle face patches, blend into the sea but share the same bold dives. They favor exposed headlands where strong currents concentrate food, riding swells that would swamp lesser ducks. Viewed from cliff trails or jetty ends, their synchronized plumages create living patterns across the water. For coastal birders, a tight flock of scoters battling offshore wind is pure Pacific theater. Hauling out on wave-washed rocks and offshore stacks, harbor seals rest with flippers raised high, basking in the sun between dives. Their plump gray bodies, often speckled with spots, crowd together in sociable groups during low tide, soaking up warmth while the ocean crashes nearby. Curious dark eyes track gulls wheeling overhead, kayakers drifting past. Pups, born in spring and summer, stay close to mothers on these same haulouts, learning to swim in protective coves before venturing into deeper water. These seals are permanent residents of Oregon's rocky coves. They bridge the worlds above and below the tide line, part of the resilient coastal community that endures storms, predators, and shifting currents. Watching a mother seal nudge her pup toward the waves reveals the quiet rhythm of marine life intertwined with Oregon's rocky shore. The surfbird is a coast specialist built for the roughest terrain. Its stocky gray body and short orange legs let it scramble across slick mussels and barnacle-covered rocks with total confidence. During migration and winter, they gather on Oregon's outer headlands and jetties, flipping gravel and prying rocks for amphipods, crabs, and beach hoppers. That bold white tail with black terminal band flashes every time they fly up from incoming surf. Flocks move as one, rising from foam in sudden bursts that catch the eye from any cliff trail. They thrive right in the splash zone, where waves hit hardest, timing every step perfectly. For birders scanning rocky points, watching surfbirds work the intertidal reveals shorebirds that don't just tolerate the Pacific's fury, they master it. Listen for the chestnut-backed chickadee's high, thin notes, spilling from dense coastal thickets, sharp, insistent, and full of coastal energy. These tiny dynamos rule the tangled salal, huckleberry, and shore pine that carpet Oregon's ocean bluffs. Rich chestnut backs and crisp black caps make them pop against gray-green foliage, while they probe crevices for insects and hang acrobatically from twigs. Year-round residents, they cache seeds in bark fissures and form lively winter flocks that chatter through wind-bent groves. Never far from cover, they link headland scrub to the dark forest edge, thriving where salt spray meets fresh woodland. Their bold curiosity often brings them close to trails and viewpoints overlooking the surf. Spotting chestnut-backs amid crashing waves below captures how even the smallest birds command the coast's wild margins, their calls weaving energy into every damp thicket. Stocky and gray, the wandering Tattler probes Oregon's rocky coves and stream mouths with relentless focus. Long legs carry the shorebird across wet boulders and gravel bars, picking small invertebrates from among the mollusks. They favor narrow channels where freshwater meets salt, timing low tides perfectly. Solitary by nature, tattlers stand tall and alert, scanning for danger before every step. During migration, they pause briefly on headland points before vanishing south. Their upright posture and steady pace set them apart from busier sandpipers. For birders exploring tide pools and rocky ledges, spotting a tattler working a secluded inlet reveals a traveler perfectly tuned to the ocean's hidden rhythms. Oregon's spectacular coast boasts over 360 miles of public beaches, welcoming millions every year to explore its trails, tide pools, and breathtaking views. Thoughtful stewardship and conservation efforts help keep these wild places vibrant and thriving. Dedicated groups work diligently to monitor nesting colonies and restore native vegetation that provides crucial shelter to songbirds along the shore. Visitors, dog owners, and adventure seekers all contribute to the lively spirit of the coast, while growing awareness encourages respectful use of sensitive habitats. For bird watchers and nature lovers alike, embracing these shared spaces ensures Oregon's rocky shores continue to brim with wings, song, and wonder for generations to come. Nothing matches the Harlequin duck for coastal color and daring. Males dazzle in slate blue, chestnut, and crisp white patches, like a patchwork quilt come alive on choppy water. These sea ducks dive headfirst into turbulent surf along Oregon's rocky shores, plunging through whitecaps to snatch mussels, limpets, and crabs from the bottom. Females in somber brown lead the way into narrow coves, swimming and diving right next to jetty rocks amid splashing waves where waves funnel hardest. Their bobbing heads and explosive dives through breakers make them a thrill from any viewpoint. Spotting harlequins in winter storm surf captures the wild beauty of ducks that laugh at danger, true daredevils of the rocky coast. The Pigeon Guillemot announces itself with sharp whistled piping calls echoing from sea caves, cliff ledges, and wharf beams along Oregon's rocky shores. Dressed in sooty black with bold white wing patches flashing in flight, these chunky alcids nest in rocky crevices and man-made cavities just above the high tide line. In summer, they paddle through kelp beds and dive for fish, crabs, and urchins in clear coastal waters. Pairs shuttle single chicks food in dim caves, their vivid red legs glowing against dark rock. In winter, they scatter farther offshore, but return each spring to familiar nesting sites. From the edge of the bay, watch them rocket low over waves, white wing bars blazing. For birders, a guillemot bursting from the surf with fish crosswise in its bill is pure Pacific drama, their calls sealing the bond between stone, sea, and sky. The orange-crowned warbler brings subtle energy to Oregon's coastal thickets, its olive plumage blending with salal and willow above the bluffs. Faint yellow underparts and thin eye streaks help pick it out as it gleans insects from leaf tips. These warblers favor damp edges where forest meets headland scrub, flitting through outer branches in quick darts. Spring migrants fill the air with wiry buzzes while probing flower clusters and spiderwebs. They nest low in tangled undergrowth hidden from wind and spray. For bluff-top birders, watching one hover glean amid ocean roar captures how tiny lives thrive in the coast's narrow green corridors. Brandt's cormorants rule Oregon's offshore stacks and cliffs, their sleek black bodies and blue-green gloss shining in breeding plumage. Pale throat patches flare during courtship displays on crowded ledges. These divers plunge deep for fish and squid, surfacing far from shore with powerful wing strokes. Summer colonies pack basalt spires, filling the air with guttural grunts. They favor exposed headlands where upwellings concentrate prey, often sharing ledges with pelagic cormorants and murres. Nests of guano and seaweed cling precariously to sheer faces. For sea watchers, scanning distant rocks reveals these ocean hunters in constant motion, true masters of the vertical world between cliff and kelp. Amid crashing surf, the song sparrow delivers rich, variable songs from blackberry tangles and dune grass above Oregon beaches. Brown-streaked with bold chest spots, they forage seeds and bugs right along coastal trails. These sparrows hug the ground in dense cover, rarely straying far from shelter. Year-round residents link beachfront scrub to inland wetlands. Their bubbling melodies brighten foggy dawns. Males sing from exposed perches to claim territory through breeding season. Nests, tucked in grass tufts, withstand wind and spray. Spotting one atop a wind-twisted shrub captures the resilient soundtrack of the shore's edge. Black scoters gather in tight winter flocks off exposed points, riding crashing surf right at the water's edge or rafting offshore in strong currents beyond the breakers. Males' yellow bills catch light against the velvet black bodies, glowing like beacons amid gray swells, while females, warm brown with subtle face patches, match their relentless dives for mussels and clams from sandy bottoms. After storms, they rest in calmer pockets behind jetties, still facing the ocean. Synchronized plunges create hypnotic patterns across choppy water, rows of ducks vanishing underwater together, then popping up with a shake. For birders scanning from cliff edges or jetty ends, black scoters turn stormy seas into living theater, their bold presence proving beauty thrives where waves hit hardest. Tough and compact, the black turnstone owns Oregon's rocky intertidal shores. Mostly black above and white below, they flip small rocks to uncover isopods, snails, and crustaceans beneath. Their short orange legs and upright posture let them work barnacle-encrusted ledges and gravel bars with bulldog determination. When waves force them off feeding grounds, they pack shoulder to shoulder on offshore stacks or jetty boulders, enduring spray that scatters other shorebirds. In flight, their striking black and white wing and tail patterns flash dramatically just above rocks and waves. These birds bridge natural reefs and human breakwaters equally well. Watching turnstones systematically upend seaweed reveals their genius for the coast's harshest terrain, a must-see for anyone who loves the working rhythm of rocky shores. Long-tailed ducks winter off Oregon's rocky points, bold facial patterns and white bodies making males stand out over choppy waves. They dive for clams, crabs, and amphipods in deep water. Females, subtler gray-brown, share the same acrobatic plunges. They favor turbulent zones where currents sweep bottoms clean, often swimming along the outer jetties of calmer bays. Here they probe deeper channels for bivalves exposed by tidal shifts. Their rapid wing beats and twisting dives handle the roughest conditions. After feeding, they float effortlessly, riding swells with buoyant grace. Spotting longtails battling surf captures Arctic visitors thriving in Pacific extremes. The western gull dominates Oregon's rocky shores with commanding presence. Dark gray backs and yellow bills mark these largest coastal gulls. They scavenge kelp rows, raid nests, and snatch fish from murre colonies. Summer brings white-headed breeders to cliff ledges. Aggressive and opportunistic, they link human peers to wild stacks, showing remarkable adaptability. Ubiquitous along the coastline, western gulls often frequent bayside roofs, boat railings, and sandy beaches, always ready to take advantage of any food source. Their piercing calls carry over surf and shore alike, asserting their role as the shore's top predator. For coastal observers, western gulls embody both the wild freedom and the resilience of Oregon's shorebirds. Tiny golden-crowned kinglets flit through coastal spruce and hemlock above the bluffs, golden crests flashing like sparks. Thin wings whir constantly as they hover glean aphids and spiders from needle clusters. Year-round coastal residents, they form lively flocks that weave through dripping branches. Their high-pitched calls pierce fog. Often found high in the trees, small flocks move with restless energy, rarely pausing longer than a moment. Their delicate presence adds a jewel-like shimmer to the coast's dark canopy, a fleeting spark against the mist and sea breeze. Sleekest of the cormorants, pelagic cormorants hug Oregon's sheer cliffs, their glossy black bodies and hooked bills built for deep dives. Deep red face and purple feather highlights shimmer in breeding season on narrow ledges. They favor steeper cliffs, flying low and direct between fishing grounds and nests. Chicks cram crevice nests high above the surf. They fly in pairs or loose flocks, weaving close to breaking waves. Pelagic cormorants embody seabirds built for the raw edge of stone and sea. Their rapid wing beats and effortless underwater agility make them skilled hunters of fish darting amid kelp. Watching them slip silently beneath ocean swells reveals the seamless link between rock, water, and air along Oregon's rugged coast. The American crow patrols Oregon's headlands with shrewd intelligence. All black with a probing bill, they scavenge kelp windrows, raid eggs, and mob eagles from beachfront pines. Family groups rule coastal territories year-round. Their versatile calls range from caws to rattle. Crows bridge wild stacks and campground edges seamlessly. Watching one cache food in tidal rack reveals coastal smarts at work. Beyond the wild shores, these adaptable birds often beachcomb for scraps along marina streets, wharfs, and town boardwalks, thriving in human-altered landscapes. Their keen eyes spot unattended snacks and fishing offal, making them familiar figures in bustling coastal communities. Whether in forest, rock, or town, American crows embody resourcefulness and clever survival along Oregon's coast. In the heart of winter, when winds bite hardest and the beaches lie mostly empty, the rock sandpiper appears. Dressed in soft grays and browns that mirror barnacle-crusted stone, it blends perfectly with jetties and breakwalls where the Arctic chill meets Pacific spray. These hardy northern travelers spend their winters feeding among rocks and mussel beds, plucking tiny crustaceans and worm-like prey exposed between waves. Patient birdwatchers who brave cold mornings can find small flocks scurrying at low tide, a true must-see, vanishing and reappearing as the foam recedes. Spotting one feels like discovering a secret survivor of the far north, a tiny, determined life thriving in the most hostile corner of the coast. Hidden in thickets above the beaches, the wren-tit adds an unexpected voice to the ocean's soundtrack. Its rolling trill rises from tangles of evergreen huckleberry and coastal salal that blanket the bluffs. Small, round, and long-tailed, it rarely flies far, preferring to creep mouse-like through dense brush. Wren-tits are the linking thread between Oregon's coast and California's chaparral, a remnant of the time when dry coastal scrub stretched farther north. For birders, its song is both familiar and mysterious, often heard but seldom seen. The steady, bouncing rhythm feels like laughter hidden in the fog. Patient watchers may glimpse a quick flash of movement as it hops through salal leaves. Here, on Oregon's wind-cut headlands, the wren-tit reminds us that the coast's wildness reaches all the way inland through its song and shadows. It is truly a must-see. Thank you for exploring Oregon's must-see birds of rocky shores and headlands with me. What's your favorite bird in this region? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And watch more from the Must-See Birds playlist. Click now.